One of the very best deep sky targets is of course M42, the famous Orion Nebula. It's probably the most photographed object in the winter sky due to its brightness and size, making it an ideal target for all imaging equipment. While the Orion Nebula, or M42, is full of bright and photogenic structure, we must adopt a refined imaging strategy. Most imagers work with moderately short exposure times, typically ranging from 2 to 10 minutes. With M42 we have a different scenario, as the sub-exposure integration times are dictated by the nebula itself, or at least by the bright trapezium stars embedded in the core of the nebula. These stars limit our exposure time because they'll saturate the sensor and reduce the trapezium stars to a white, overexposed, featureless blob. Now, there's no way to recover that lost detail during processing. It's worth ascertaining the longest exposure time that can be used before the stars overexpose. There will be some variation between different telescope and camera configurations, and of course between filters, so ensure that you test all options first. Broadband LRGB filters will require much shorter exposures compared to narrowband filters. Here I can show you a quick and easy way to get a nice image even when using short exposure data sets. Let's start off by opening the sub-exposures in Astro Pixel Processor, or APP, and view them in the raw state with no stretching applied by clicking on the No Stretch option from the drop list. Virtually all deep sky objects show nothing at this stage but a few of the brightest stars in the field when viewed like this. M42 certainly bucks that trend and clearly displays the trapezium stars and some of the brighter nebulosity around them. This is better shown by clicking on the 10% BG option from the drop list. M42 has a huge dynamic range of brightness, but we can call on tried and tested solutions to either shoot additional data with short exposure times or process the longer exposure data in 2 or more different ways before blending. And that's what we'll do here, starting with the former. We'll be working with a combination of short and longer exposures that were kindly taken by my good friend Kevin Earp with a One Shot Colour CMOS camera. The images were kindly supplied as 10-second and 120-second exposures. I always use Astro Pixel Processor for calibration and stacking, but of course other programs like PixInsight, Cirrel and Deep Sky Stacker will do a similar job. With the 10-second subs loaded in APP, I was able to output a stacked master frame, and I'll speed up the video for this bit. As before, we can view the unstretched version to ensure that the trapezium stars are clearly displayed. Next, I'll load the 120-second dataset and output it as a second master frame. This time we can view the unstretched data, and it's apparent that the core is overexposed and detail in here can't be recovered, but this isn't a problem. I'll clear the files from APP and reload the 2 master frames. Going forward, I recommend that we work with 16-bit TIFF files, as this will make the blending process much easier. The procedure is to scale both master frames in a suitable way, and by this I mean that we'll ensure that the trapezium stars and inner nebulosity are clearly visible in the 10-second exposure. Similarly, in the 120-second image we'll try to show the maximum amount of nebulosity in and around the main nebula. We can start with the short exposure in the unstretched view. Like this, the image is too dark for blending. We'd like to see some nebulosity. Click on the scaling drop list and choose the 10% BG option again. The image is much brighter now and the nebula is much more visible. This is impressive for such a short exposure time. However, the trapezium is slightly overblown, but this can be rectified by going to the stretch slider and moving it over to the right hand side. Our aim is to find a happy medium where everything is nicely displayed. Some experimentation may be required, but it's generally very easy to get the right values. The brighter the nebula, the easier it will be to blend with the longer data set, but don't overdo the stars. When happy with the result, come up to the top right Save button, ensuring the stretch option is ticked, and click on it to save the image as a 16-bit TIFF file. Now we'll do the same procedure with the 120-second master frame. As before, we can see that in the unstretched view the core is blown out. Once again, choose the 10% BG option from the list. I think this looks pretty good, but we can drop down one more to the lower option, which is 0.0% base, to brighten the nebula a little bit more. Now save the image once again as a 16-bit TIFF file. Okay, now we can switch over to Affinity Photo to combine the two master TIFF files. Happily, I can report that Affinity Photo is now totally free to download, and it's definitely worth doing this as it has some great tools for astrophotography. Open both the images and get the 10-second version visible on the screen. The sky background looks a little bit dark, so we can call up the Shadows Highlights tool and move the Shadow Strength slider slightly over towards the right. Now click on the 122nd version and copy it to the clipboard using Ctrl+C. With this done, we don't need this anymore, so we can close it down. Now use Ctrl+V to paste it on top of the short exposure image. Ensure that both layers are aligned by reducing the opacity of the top layer. Yeah, these are fine, so I'll do a quick crop on the image so we can concentrate on the central area. Now we'll use the Erase Brush tool to gently erase a hole in the top layer so we can see through to the lower, darker layer. Make sure that the hardness setting is set to 0 and the opacity option is around 30%. Choose a brush size that encompasses the whole of the central area of M42 and mouse click 2 or 3 times to reduce the opacity. Yeah, this is looking good. We've already achieved our goal. Zooming in, I can see that the trapezium stars are a little bit bright, so once again call up the Shadows Highlights tool and experiment with the 2 lower highlight sliders to gain a slightly better view. From this point onwards, we can apply some quick colour adjustments to the image using the colour balance and selective colour tools, but to do this I'll flatten the image into a single layer. Once happy with the result, I usually darken the sky background a small amount, keeping an eye on the histogram. In the next video, we'll look at another option for imaging the Orion Nebula with the use of a dual band filter.